Old Man Gregor was the first to die. He had been a fixture in Blackthorn for decades, a grizzled woodcutter who told fantastical stories by the hearth. When he didn't return from checking his traps one evening, the villagers assumed he'd stayed at his hunting cabin overnight. But at dawn, young Tom found him, or what was left of him, near the forest's edge. His body was ripped open, claw marks scoring deep into the earth around him. His face was frozen in terror. "A wolf," whispered Tom, trembling. "Had to be." But the tracks were too large, the damage too brutal. Wolves hadn't been seen near Blackthorn in generations. 3 nights later, it happened again. Here's how it all began. The village of Blackthorn slept beneath a silver moon, its thatched roofs glowing faintly in the pale light. Nestled between the dark embrace of the Eldergrove forest and the rolling farmlands to the east, it was a place of quiet routines and whispered superstitions. The villagers spoke of old magic in hushed tones, of spirits in the trees and charms to ward off ill fortune. But no one truly believed, not until the killings began. At the heart of the village lived Elara, a girl of 17 with sun-kissed skin and wildflower eyes. She was beloved by all. The children trailed after her like ducklings. The elders smiled when she brought them fresh-baked bread, and even the surliest of farmers softened when she sang in the marketplace. Her laughter was bright, her heart tender. No one knew that when the moon rose full and high, she became something else entirely. Torin, leader of Blackthorn's hunters and Elara's father, stood before the village council, his jaw set. "This is no ordinary beast," he said, his voice rough with anger. "It's hunting us, and we will hunt it back." The villagers murmured in agreement. Fear had settled over Blackthorn like a shroud. Doors were barred at sunset. Children were forbidden from playing near the tree line. Still, the killings continued. Sometimes a shepherd, sometimes a lone traveler. Always at night. Always under the moon. Torin's son Kael watched his father sharpen his spear with grim focus. At 15, Kael was already a skilled tracker, though his father often chided him for his recklessness. "We'll find it," Kael said, testing the edge of his own blade. Torin didn't look up. "Aye, and when we do, we'll make sure it never kills again." Elara woke with a gasp, her body aching. She was in her bed, the morning sun filtering through her window. But something was wrong. Her nails were caked with dirt, her nightgown was torn, and her skin. She touched her arm, wincing. Bruises mottled her flesh, dark and angry. Again. For weeks now, she'd been waking like this, exhausted, battered, with no memory of how it had happened. At first, she'd thought she was sleepwalking. Then she'd wondered if someone was hurting her in the night. But the doors were always locked. No one had entered. She dressed quickly, hiding the bruises beneath her sleeves. Downstairs, her mother, Elara, hummed as she kneaded dough. "You're up late," she teased, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. Elara forced a laugh. "Just tired." Kael watched her from the hearth, his gaze sharp. Kael had always been observant. He noticed the way Elara flinched when the butcher sharpened his knives. The way she sometimes stared at the moon with a hunger that didn't belong to her. The way she woke with blood under her fingernails. And then, one night, he saw the truth. He'd been tracking a deer near the forest when he heard it. The scream, not an animal's cry, a human's. Kael ran, his bow drawn. In the clearing, Widow Hilda lay sprawled on the ground, her shawl torn, her face ashen. Above her loomed a monstrous wolf, its fur black as pitch, its golden eyes gleaming. Kael didn't hesitate. He fired. The arrow grazed the beast's shoulder. It whirled on him with a snarl. Then it lunged. Claws raked his chest. Teeth snapped at his throat. Kael fought, but the wolf was stronger. His vision blurred. His strength faded. "This is how I die," he thought. Then a rooster crowed. Dawn. The wolf shuddered, its body twisted, bones cracking, fur melting away, and where the beast had been, Elara, naked, trembling, covered in blood. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with confusion. "Kael? What happened? Why are you hurt? Why am I—" She didn't remember. Kael's blood turned to ice. Kael bandaged his wounds in silence. He helped Elara home before anyone could see them. He told no one what he had seen. But the killings didn't stop. The hunters set more traps. His father's face grew darker with each failed attempt. "This beast is no ordinary wolf," Torin muttered one evening, studying a map of the village. "It's clever. It knows our movements." Kyle's stomach twisted. That night, he watched Elara carefully. She seemed normal, laughing at supper, humming as she braided her hair. But when the moon rose, she yawned and excused herself early. Kael waited. Then he crept to her door. It was open. Her bed was empty. Kael ran into the night, his heart hammering. The forest loomed ahead, its trees like skeletal fingers against the sky. Somewhere in the darkness, a twig snapped. Then, a scream. Elara's scream. Kael sprinted toward the sound, dread clawing at his throat. His father's newest trap, a bear snare with iron teeth, had been set near the river. Had it caught her? Had it caught the wolf? As he burst into the clearing, the last thing he saw was Elara's shadowy form writhing in the dark, and the glint of the hunter's spears closing in. The scream still echoed in Kael's ears as he crashed through the underbrush. Moonlight sliced through the trees, painting the forest in jagged silver and black. Ahead, the metallic snap of the trap rang out again, followed by a pained whimper. Elara. Kael skidded into the clearing just as the hunters' torches appeared between the trees. Their voices carried through the night, rough, angry, thirsty for blood. "Got it!" one of them shouted. "No, wait!" Kael's voice was lost in the clamor. In the center of the clearing, the massive iron bear trap had clamped shut around a dark, thrashing shape. But it wasn't a bear. It was the wolf. Its golden eyes burned in the torchlight, wild with pain and fury. Blood matted its fur where the trap's teeth had sunk in. The creature snarled, twisting against the metal, but the hunters were already closing in, spears raised. Kael didn't think. He lunged forward, throwing himself between the wolf and the nearest spear. "Stop!" he gasped, arms spread. "You can't!" A hand grabbed his shoulder and yanked him back. His father, Torin, glared down at him, his face hard as stone. "Have you lost your mind, boy?" "That thing will tear your throat out," the wolf growled, low and guttural. Kael's heart pounded. He couldn't tell them the truth. Not like this, with the hunter's blood up and their blades already wet from the chase. But he couldn't let them kill her. It's hurt," he stammered, scrambling for an excuse. "Look at it. The trap's got it pinned. We should study it, learn how it hunts, so we can stop the killings for good." Torin's grip tightened. "We stop the killings by putting a blade through its heart." The wolf thrashed again, its claws gouging the earth. One of the hunters raised his spear. A rooster crowed in the distance. Dawn. The wolf's body convulsed. Bones cracked. Fur receded. And in the span of a breath, where the beast had been, there was only Elara, pale, trembling, her leg trapped in the iron jaws, her wide eyes staring up at them in terror. The hunters recoiled. Someone cursed. Torin's hand fell from Kael's shoulder. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Elara fainted. Kael carried his sister home in the gray light of morning, her blood soaking through his shirt. Behind him, the hunters walked in stunned silence. No one spoke. No one dared. Torin barred the door behind them and turned to face his son. His voice was dangerously quiet. "Explain." Kyle's hands shook. "I don't know what's happening to her. She doesn't either. She doesn't remember any of it." "You knew." "I only found out last night. I saw her change back at dawn, just like you did." I was going to tell you, but what? Torin's fist slammed against the table. But you thought I'd let her keep slaughtering our people? Elara stirred on the bed, her face pinched with pain even in sleep. Kael lowered his voice. She's not doing it on purpose. It's like she's cursed. We have to help her. Torin's jaw worked. For a moment, Kael thought he might strike him. Then he turned away. Lock her in the cellar tonight. If she changes, she can't hurt anyone down there. And then what? Torin didn't answer. Kael didn't sleep. He sat by Elara's bedside, watching the rise and fall of her chest, counting the bruises on her arms. When she woke, she remembered nothing, only running to the river for water, then darkness. She touched the bandages on her leg. Did I fall? Kael forced a smile. Yeah, you tripped on the way back. He helped her to the cellar that evening, telling her it was for her own safety. There's talk of wolves in the village, he lied. Father wants you somewhere secure. Elara frowned, but didn't argue. She curled up on the cot he'd laid out, already drowsy as the moon rose. Kael locked the door and pocketed the key. It didn't matter. When he checked at midnight, the cellar was empty. The lock was intact. The window was too small for even a child to fit through. But Elara was gone, and in the distance, a scream tore through the night. The next morning, Kael sought out old Nan, the village's eldest resident. She lived in a crooked cottage at the edge of the woods, surrounded by charms and dried herbs. Nan took one look at him and sighed. So it's begun again. Kael's breath caught. You know what's happening to Elara? Nan stirred a pot of murky liquid. The wolves of Eldergrove don't die. They sleep. And when they wake, they hunger. Wolves? You mean werewolves? Aye, cursed folk. There was a time they lived among us, hiding their nature. Until the hunts. Her milky eyes darkened. Your ancestors drove them into the forest, slaughtered them like beasts, but the ones who survived never forgot. And now one of them has woken the curse in your sister's blood. Kael's stomach twisted. How do we stop it? Nan pressed a wooden charm into his hand. Find the one who cursed her. Only their death will break it. And if we can't? Nan didn't answer. The hunters had devised a new plan. They dug a pit deep in the forest, its sides lined with silver spikes. Silver weakened the beasts, they said. Once the wolf fell in, it wouldn't climb out. Torin didn't look at Kael as they set the final spikes. Kael's hands were raw from digging. Father, please, there's another way. I spoke to old Nan. Torin cut him off. Tonight, it dies. That night, the hunters waited in silence. Kael hid among the trees, his heart in his throat. The wolf came at midnight. It moved like a shadow, sleek and deadly, its nostrils flaring as it caught the scent of the bait, a fresh-killed hare dripping blood onto the leaves covering the pit. 1 step. 2. The trap gave way. The wolf snarled as it fell, but the hunters were already moving, spears raised. It twisted in midair, claws scrabbling at the pit's edge. Kael didn't think. He ran. He grabbed the wolf's foreleg, hauling with all his strength. The creature's golden eyes locked onto his, burning with something almost human. Then Torin's spear flashed in the moonlight. Kael threw himself forward, shielding the wolf with his body. Stop! It's Elara! Torin froze. The spear trembled in his grip. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the wolf changed. Fur melted into skin. Claws shrank to nails. And in the pit, bleeding and broken, lay Elara, her eyes wide with terror, her voice a whisper. Father. Torin's spear clattered to the ground. Please like and subscribe and comment for part 2.